Well, good afternoon, everybody, or good evening. Um, Doc is with us, Jose, and I see Chris on the chat in the chat room there. Doc seems to have a little bit of a cold or something, so he'll only be jumping in if we need his help. You guys know I am the co-host, but for tonight I'll be taking the lead. So any kind of questions you guys have, um, it's time to start with the questions. But I thought I would start with a little bit of what's just transpired over the last 2 weeks. We had the Sandy Hook thing, which led to a lot of people screaming for more gun control, which led to the militia movement and the hunters and gun owners, gun nuts as they try to call us, um, into, well, we're not going to take it this time. We're not giving anything up, is what seems to be coming out of that side of the community. Let's see here. What else is there?
Hey,
the fiscal cliff from Congress. Oh, go ahead, Doc.
on that note, I just wanted to quick jump in. I was reading an article this morning for a little bit that I was able to stay awake for. With the whole gun movement that you just mentioned, the gun movement has posted a thank you note to the government for allowing the last month, if you will, last 4 weeks, to have the largest gun sale run in U.S. history. Over 2.4 million guns were sold in the last 4 weeks because of that event.
Yep. Obama Obama has been above and beyond all presidents in both his term and in just the last month. Gun salesman of probably the century, probably gun salesman ever, next to, no, I'd say yeah, he's the top gun salesman ever, because that guy has sold more guns in the last 4 years than anyone has ever sold, I think, except, like military contracts that are preset and that kind of stuff. It's bad. And it just goes to show, I mean, that's the state of affairs today. That's exactly what's going on. That's I don't know if it can be made any more clearer than that. I've kind of kept an eye on Facebook. Not my best way of saying it. I like my second term for them a lot better, but I'll keep calling them Facebook for now. Anyhow, let's see here. Well, they've been posting a lot of the, we're not going to take the government tyranny thing anymore, but there's also a lot of things being shown where the government has murdered lots of people. I mean, okay, it's obvious. There's wars on, there's people getting bombed from drones and all that other stuff overseas. The excuse is, oh, they have to save America from these people. Well, we already know who America needs to be saved from, and it's not some guy, waving a gun and burning the flag over half, more than halfway around the planet in some cave on a mountainside somewhere. He's not the one we need to worry about. We already know who we need to worry about. We need to worry about those that put in the 14th Amendment. We need to worry about the ones that run the country according to the 14th Amendment. And I just can't. I fail to see how it is that it's not as obvious. I'm trying to make it obvious to a lot of people. I've probably hit pretty darn near 600 posts in the last week on Facebook trying to point out to people that, look, the reason that we're financially enslaved, the reason that we are slaves to our labor, the reason that we don't get enough time to come home and be with our families, the reason mom and dad are both working, the reason the child is going to public school rather than getting homeschooled, the reason, and it just goes on and on and on. I mean, that list is so long. The reason that they're predicting $8 a gallon for milk, it all comes down to the 14th Amendment. And, dare I say it, the Federal Reserve Bank, the owners of the Federal Reserve Bank, all the elitists, it's all them. And now they are pushing their puppets in the District of Columbia to come and take everybody's guns. For what reason? Well, I'd like an explanation. I mean, seriously. Sandy Hook, I don't mean to sound calloused, but Sandy Hook? Really? What was that? 20 kids and something like 7 or 8 adults or something? No. Don't throw Sandy Hook at us. Don't even mention Sandy Hook. I want to talk about Waco. Where was all the, let's take the guns away from the government after Waco? Where was all the, Janet Reno was involved in all that, and she actually pushed. No, nobody said nothing about that. We all knew that was the story. We all know that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were so deeply involved in all that. And who mentioned it? Hi, Jesse.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
I'm okay. Just got back from my long-ass day of shopping. It's payday.
Oh, that's a good deal.
I got to rely on the damn government to give me my freaking food. Damn Social Security, anyway. But I'll tell you what, give me about 10 years and I don't have to rely on their stupid asses no more.
Well, yeah, that's the entire idea, isn't it, Jesse?
Well, I mean, shit, I'm pretty much doing it now, dude. When they found out between my Social Security and my son's Social Security after my husband died, we get almost $2,000 a month, just our Social Security alone. Okay, so with that, my paper route and my janitorial job, they took away my food stamps, they took away my medical, they took away my HUD, they took away every little piece of assistance that I had. I might as well just say I'm a freaking state national now and just say, F all y'all, don't give me Social Security no more and take care of my damn self.
Well,
there you go.
I'm pretty much doing it now anyway.
Well, that's pretty much the entire goal, Jesse.
I know. I mean, I'm pissed off about it because as much as I hate to admit it, right now I need it, but I've been doing fine without it for the last 3 months.
Wow.
The only thing that they can go ahead and take away from me is my Social Security. And with, I'll be okay. I'll still be, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not pushing that right now because I need the money right now. But like I said, give me about 10 years and I should be able to be on my own. But anyway, hi everybody. There's enough of my ranting for the day.
Well, we were talking about Sandy Hook and the gun grabbing agenda.
I've been listening the whole time. I've been listening the whole time. I just didn't push one. I've been listening the whole time.
Oh, okay. Okay,
yeah.
I thought maybe you were busy.
Yeah, Jesse usually beats me to the board when I log in.
I usually do.
I'm pretty sure she beat me today. I don't know. I tried to get in early, and oh Lord, I made a dog's breakfast of it. I really did. I was clicking on about 60 different buttons. I'm surprised we didn't end up playing all the music on the board with all the buttons I was clicking. Let's just say that.
Hey, you're doing fine, brother. You're doing fine. Hey, on the note on the Waco, too, if you guys go to the YouTube PAC channel, it's the latest one that I linked to the YouTube PAC channel, is one of the best I've ever seen so far. Documentary and interview set up and whatnot on the Waco incident. If you haven't chance to watch that, check it out. It's over there on YouTube. I think it's called Waco Revealed or something like that. Came out a couple of years ago, but I've watched every film. I've heard, not read personally, but heard about almost every book written on it, on the topic. And that is literally the best one, and that's why I linked it up with our PAC YouTube channel. It's also, not to speak for LB, but I've often heard LB himself say it's the reason he finally had enough. That was the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, for LB, our author of our and founder of PAC, and the author of the Red Amendment, our textbook. But Waco, that's what finally pushed him over the edge, along with seeing the name change from personnel department to human resource. That's when enough was enough for him. He even, through the course of all this, even sold his own business. The man was a very well-known carpenter, homemade furniture and things like that. Had very high clientele list at one time. But he even closed down the business and everything just because it was more important to do the state national thing and freedom over everything else. So if you have the will to do so, you can do it.
Yep. Well, let's take a little bit deeper look into that whole Waco thing. All right, this started off because of somebody saying that the Branch Davidians had some type of illegal guns on the compound. Well, if I remember correctly, back in '93, illegal guns meant .50 caliber, fully automatic, and you can't make you can make a .50 caliber semi-automatic where you shoot one shot at a time, but that's all on your finger control, and you do have one little knob that you turn and it goes semi-auto or full auto, but that's what it meant. That's the guns that they were looking for. They weren't looking for M16s. They were looking for like the M60 7.62 full auto machine gun, .50 caliber, full auto machine guns, bazookas and stuff like that. And they didn't find any. They weren't there. Why did they go after the Branch Davidians? Because of religion. That's my entire idea there. It was, they were out there, they were by themselves, they were completely different than the rest of the surrounding communities. These people, they were basically their own little community, and they were a family. They're as tight as a family. It's bad. It's really bad. When a government comes in with combat troops from Delta Force, and the entire ATF, and huge chunks of the FBI, and they just slaughter, and I mean slaughter, Americans in that manner, for whatever reason.
Yeah, that documentary goes into depth of they got a hold of a film of the actual filming, I guess, from a chopper standpoint, visual, of the whole event, and you can see, because they were saying they didn't use this against them and that against them, so on and so forth. So they've had independent analysis of the film, and they go into even like heat signatures and things like that. I mean, it literally is the best thing I've ever seen, and it shows you. Well, they say they didn't do this. Well, look, boop, there you go. There's 4 centuries there that supposedly didn't happen. They weren't supposed to go in with any kind of flame throwing or anything like that. Supposedly, they didn't use any of that. They don't know why. Supposedly, the compound blew up. They show exactly how the government blew it up. It had nothing to do with the people there. But yeah, they go into complete analysis. It's quite a long video. It's not one of these 1 hour, 2 hour things. If I remember right, it's like 4+ hours long, because it literally covers everything from beginning to end. It's just amazing. But you're right. It was they used the excuse of one thing to go in and destroy another, only because they were living free and without the government. It also goes back to that movie that I recommend every once in a while. We drew a blank there. Off Grid, Off Map, something like that. It has Sam Elliott in it. Mm-hmm. Came out quite a while ago. It's out on DVD. You rent it, Blockbusters, buy it Amazon, wherever. Excellent film. Very deep on the 14th Amendment. It's about family living off grid. They're got their own little farm. They hunt. They do everything themselves. They got their own power source. Everything. They want for nothing from the government. It's land's all owned outright, so on and so forth. And, I ain't going to give the plot away of what happens at the end there, but it's a clear indication that even if you do everything right, okay, that without the correction of your status and the proper allodial title to the land, it's not a waste of time, but for lack of a better word, with my head cold at the moment, it's a waste of time. Either you're going to do it right, if you've already gone that far to live 100% off grid, okay, fully 100% self-sufficient, no debt, no nothing, to not take that one extra step and getting the status corrected so you can get the allodial title to the land. Because without that last step, you're in jeopardy of losing everything. And that's the real problem. You're either out or you're in. There's no in between. You may think you're out by being off grid. Guess what? If you don't have status, you don't have allodial title, you're in. No middle ground here, people. It's a fence. We call you, the fence walkers, as LB like to call it. You're either out or you're in. There is no middle. Before I end up cutting out here,
yeah, it was.
Excuse me. I just want to let Chris know, because I know he's in the chat room. To make Chris aware, bud. I got your email and all, and we'll definitely get into more of that information and cover what you had gone into, you feel free to ask, call in or ask any questions there, or type some there in chat, and Jose can field it for you. If not, next week we'll cover that information. I just wanted to let you know I did receive it. I did read it. No problem. So we'll go from there. Anyway, guys, you probably won't hear from me the rest of the night. As you can hear, it's my pills I've taken have already started to wear off. So enjoy the rest of the show. Thank you, Jose, for taking lead chair tonight. Jesse, always good hearing from you. I'll be kicking back listening. You guys enjoy the evening. If you got any questions, the right man is there and to ask him, and I'll be here in case anything else pops up. But it's all you guys.
Well, thanks, Doc. Yeah. And on the analysis that they did on that film, they did it with it's an infrared technology that they were using, you know. And you guys know that infrared works off of basically heat, body heat and all that kind of stuff. And when a rifle flashes, when you get a flash comes out of a rifle, you can tell how many flashes there are within 1 second with infrared technology and stuff like that. And so it shows the tank, or a tank, driving into part of the building from the backside. And two bodies dropping out from underneath it. And the guy was counting each and every flash that was coming out of the rifles of the two guys that dropped out of the tank. And he said he stopped counting at 62. That 62 rounds, and I know that tactic where you ride in on a tank, and you drop out of the bottom, and the tank goes over you a little bit. You just roll left or right, depending on which one you are, and you start firing across the side of the tracks, and you start taking out whatever targets you're told to take out, to protect the tank from being attacked with grenades or whatever the person can use in their hand right there. At that close range, you wouldn't be using like a bazooka against the tank, but you could use a thermite grenade, you could use a regular hand grenade, all kinds of interesting stuff out there. But it goes deep. This is, probably the first time that I've gotten this much information about Waco. Bill Clinton knew about it. Hillary Clinton knew about it. It was Hillary Clinton's secretary, and she was the first lady at the time. It was Hillary Clinton's secretary that went in during the big scandal and removed boxes of evidence. Is it fair to call it evidence? I think it is. From an office where it was being held, and this office was the office of a senator that was in charge of part of this whole investigation, or something, I don't know, high-ranking officer or something like that. Anyways, the guy supposedly committed suicide, but he was going to, what is that? He was going to give this evidence in front of the Congressional Committee, Congressional Investigation. And somehow, that is linked to what happened exactly a year later on the same day in Oklahoma City. And that information came up missing too. And it's all linked to Janet Reno, Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton. Isn't that amazing? Hillary Clinton still up to her old tricks. I don't know. I don't think there's much there to trust. I don't think there ever was. But it's just another one of those things, that's come out into the public knowledge. I tried to pass it on Facebook, and I was asked, why am I so angry? Well, I'm not angry. Well, not anymore. I'm actually not even as disappointed as I used to be. I'd have to say I am extremely well aware of just about everything that's going on around us. And I'm trying to wake people up gently, in my own sort of gentle way, which is probably equal to a slap in the face. But, I'm not angry. I have no reason to be angry. No, they're just killing all my fellow countrymen. I have no reason to be angry. They're poisoning our foods, changing them genetically, modifying them so that they create new diseases within our bodies. Should I be angry about that? No, I'm not angry. They're spreading all this filth over our skies from airplanes that's making people sick. It could probably be a very good reason why there's a rise in cancer, asthma, and other illnesses. Should I be angry about that? No, I'm not angry. Am I disappointed about any of that? No, not disappointed. What I am is very aware, very, very aware of what they're doing. There is a choice word for it. It kind of escapes me a little bit right now. But if it doesn't sicken you and disgust you down to the pit of your stomach, to the deepest parts of your soul, I don't think you're putting enough attention on it. It's bad. They have totally turned into themselves into complete psychopaths. And we have people running around the country going, "Oh my God, we're going off of a fiscal cliff." Fiscal cliff? Really? It's not even our money. This is a fiat system. It's their money. It's their own money that they're spending, their money they're borrowing. Yeah, okay, I don't even, I no longer even really have a clue as to whose credit they're supposed to be using. I'm assuming it's still our credit. Because when we walk into the bank, the banker man drags out all this paperwork. You sign it, and all of a sudden, you have a $50,000 or $100,000 or a $300,000 credit line.
I don't have any credit.
That's interesting. So your signature is what created that loan, that money. And it's not like that money comes from the Federal Reserve down to that bank and then they write a check. It's not like that money was sitting in the vault in that bank and then they wrote a check. No. You signed for the money. Your signature creates the money. There is where they get their authority to write the check, hand it to you, or to whoever you're buying something from, house, car. I don't know, whatever you want to buy. And they say that the only way you can pay it back is with Federal Reserve notes. But that's not money, that's currency. Currency. Like water. Water flows. It has a current. Electricity flows. It has a current. Paper, fiat, debt money is currency. It's not money. It flows. Yep, that's right, please. Cash flow. That's all it does is flow. That is why it's currency. But it isn't money. And they wonder why there's a lot of people angry at them. Huh.
Yeah, what's it was?
And you know something? We're not even supposed to have that crud in the Union. According to the Constitution, the last time I was looking in on it a little bit there, I could swear it said it's Congress's job to mint money. Gold and silver coin.
But there's the key word.
Uh-huh.
And actually, it's not mint. It's print. In the Constitution, it says print. It's their responsibility to print and maintain. If it said mint only, that would be the key word, since actually Congress is the only one that still does print all coinage. All coinage is legal and lawful money. In other words, no debt attached. We've covered that in the past intensely. There is your silver and gold certificates, and there's also what they call the U.S. note. U.S. note, same thing, doesn't necessarily have to be backed by gold or silver, but it's a U.S. note. That is, again, debt-free money. It is paper money. It is printed by the mint, strictly by the government. It is still in circulation, and there is exactly $500 million worth of it in circulation and must remain in circulation at all times since the very beginning. And it's still true today. The problem is collectors, like myself especially, collect it and hoard it. So it's not actually in circulation, although there is $500 million worth of it out there somewhere. Everybody has a piece of it, in other words. But that is debt-free money. The reason why it was set at a specific amount, well, one, of course, the population wasn't that high back then when this all came about. But this way, there was no such thing as inflation or deflation. The prices would always be the same. And it was a constant set form. That all changed with, of course, the passing of the new banking regulations and laws and Federal Reserve coming into play and all that shit. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that in since I had just gotten back. I had walked away for a minute. I digress.
No, go ahead, Doc. I mean, you really had it. Yeah, it's true. We do have our own money, but they make it so that the only way that we can pay our debts is through the use of their currency. That's a control. That's an enslavement. That's what that is. And people don't get it. I've tried to tell them. It's not money. It's currency. Kind of like water, electricity.
It's bullshit.
It just kind of flows. It doesn't have value. It has a negative value. It doesn't have a positive value. But we have to pay it back with gold and silver. Really? I don't think so. It wasn't gold and silver to begin with that created all this debt. Well, then, why should we pay it back with gold and silver? And who cares about the fiscal cliff? I don't think it would be a bad thing if the government went under they couldn't pay their debts. It's not like they pay them anyway. No, seriously. They don't pay anything.
No, I know.
They
That's
just keep
why I was
on racking up more debt. You know, and then to lay this stupid bull on the people that you're getting a $1 tax break, but we're raising your taxes another 41. Really? And 77% of our society actually thinks they owe this. What do you think of that? Owe them. I know what we owe them. And it ain't money. It ain't money by a long shot. There's a return for everything that they've put out. There will be a return. For every lie they've said will be exposed. Every time that they have done something horrible to someone, it will show up. This country will come awake. And I'm gonna do everything I can, and I don't care who gets angry about it. Somebody wants to get angry at me about it. So what? Let them get angry. What are they gonna do? You know? I see it as being just, well, let me correct myself on that one. In the Union, not the country. But, whatever. You know, there is none of these taxes apply to hardly anybody from everything that I'm seeing. You know, and then here comes, Homeland Security Agency, and they went and made up a little map of the Union there, or continental U.S., and they put this 100-mile border around it and said, oh, that's the Constitution-free zone. Really? Seriously? Constitution-free zone? I'm moving there. Because when I get there, I know how to tell them, hey, you said it was the Constitution-free zone. The 14th Amendment no longer applies. Matter of fact, none of it applies. Get out of my face. Because that's the way it should be.
Right.
They come up thinking they have authority. They don't have authority. They don't have authority for them to go wipe their own butts most of the time. They got to have permission. And they want to have authority over another man? I don't think so.
Kiss my ass. Kiss my ass. Sorry, y'all. Forgot to mute myself.
I hear you, Jesse.
Oh, serious,
yeah.
Dude,
Hamilton's one of the ones that set it all up. Hamilton, too. Boy, was he pushing for a centralized bank or what? Alexander Hamilton, yeah. He said, hey, by golly, we got to have a centralized bank. Really? Oh, boy. If it had started way back then, imagine how badly in debt we'd be now. Or they'd be now. I mean, it wouldn't be 16 trillion. No, it'd be more like quadrillions. You know, 16 quadrillion, which is like 1,000 times whatever the debt is now or something like that. It's insane. It's stupid, and people are jumping out of their skin because of this. You know, and it's just socialism. And then you got the Obama phone people. You know, it's a welfare state. And there's a lot of people that see it. There's a lot of people that are seeing what's happening. This country is coming awake. And what we need to do is we need to reach out to those people that are coming awake. We need to bring them in. You know? We got to talk to them. We got to let them know, hey, there's a system that outside of the system that you are currently in. And it is a debt-free system where you will not have debt unless you want to have debt. You know? And that's the State National Society. That's PAC. That's all of these things that we've been talking about for, I don't know, what, about 8 months now? 9 months that I've been with this crew. So, yeah, there's a lot we can do. There's a lot we could do. There are ways we can get out of it. And there's a lot to learn. A lot of it, it's the words. You know, you got to learn some of these, and you got to study some law. And it sounds confusing and looks confusing right at the start. But you get a little bit of practice in on it, and all of a sudden, it doesn't look so bad. It doesn't sound so bad.
Nope.
Well, you know, funny, Chris, that you should mention the original Constitution. But the original Constitution, the way it was originally written in the preamble, what it said was, we the people of, and then it started listing out the names of the states. You know, New York, Maryland, Virginia, New Hampshire, South Carolina, North Carolina, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, wait a second. We can't do that. And people were like, wait, yeah, we got to change this, you know, because what if one of the states doesn't ratify it? Hey, you know? Well, what if one of those states didn't ratify it? What if none of them had ratified it? Well, what then? What kind of laws would we be under then? Natural law. How you deal with your neighbor? Well, that's a fact. Have you ever considered that? Maybe, just maybe, the Constitution does not apply to you at all. Never did, never will. Why? Well, when they got done writing it up, the only people it actually applies to is all the people that signed it. That's the only people it applies to. From a legal law point of view, from a legal point of view, a law point of view, from Supreme Court's point of view, the only people that it applies to is the people that signed it and their descendants, if the descendants want it to. Yep, that's right, pleased. We the people equals the United States in Congress assembled, a.k.a. the District of Columbia. That's it. Not much else for me to say on that subject. I wish there was. But, I mean, you know, white. What was that? That there was a a Supreme Court justice that did a big old write-up on it. I believe he said you got to be white, Anglo-Saxon, male, or white Anglo-Saxon people. Well, no, it's actually it's a lot shorter than that. Oh, it was white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Well, actually, the picture of it is actually a lot smaller than that. You have to be direct relation to one of the signers of the Constitution if you want that stupid thing to apply to you. Otherwise, you can't get it into a courtroom at all. There will not be a single judge in the entire Union that would hear it. From the Supreme Court down to the bottom of the list. Not one. So how is it that the 14th Amendment applies to us? That's my question. How can they say that the 14th Amendment applies to us when the whole rest of it doesn't apply to us? I don't know. Now see that part there, boggles.
That's where I come in. That's real easy. Yes, you're correct. The founders and their offspring is what it was secured for. Okay, to bring down your list. However, there were actually elected representatives, and they went there and they represented the individual states, i.e., countries of the Union at the time. So that group, the original Constitution was actually the laws for those individual states, countries of that era. It did not have anything to do with the people, the population of those individual states. The people that it only, as in we the people that it referred to, are only referring to the signers and their descendants, as you pointed out. But the rules of it, the guiding rules of it, applied to the states. It was the securing of the states' rights, is what the state can and cannot do. It was to get them out of the multiple currencies and under one currency at the time, because each state had its own money exchange, if you will, at the time. And it was also their state's independence way out, to say, okay, the Union's a failure, we don't want to have nothing to do with you anymore, and we can succeed, which brings us into the Civil War. The 14th Amendment, in order to make it what we refer to as both constitutions run side by side, they run concurrent, in other words. What the 14th Amendment did is it made the population a part of the contract. So prior to the passing of the 14th, in order to make it a legal instead of a lawful document, or amendment, I should say, they had to give you the way out. That's the Expatriation Act. All right, the 15 Statutes of Large, what PAC uses to correct nationality. You have to use that because the law of contract, in that particular contract, as speaking of the Constitution, from the 14th Amendment on, your silence is considered consent. So even if you're not a partaker of any of the benefits, you don't have a Social Security number, you don't have anything, but you were born in one of the several states making up the Union, you therefore automatically, by your silent, in other words, not saying otherwise, are a part of that contract. And that's the loophole. So in order to get out, you can't be silent. You have to do it lawfully. And all that was fine and dandy and no problem. Many people did. They just denied it, and they did it publicly, because back at the time, pretty much all they had to do was to take an advertisement into the public newspaper. Now, that's not a problem, because back then the original 13 states were very small. There were only a couple of printing presses that covered all 13 states, and you can very easily take out, because it's usually a very small one-page type of newspaper that was printed out. You can take an an advisement, an advertisement, whatever you want to call it, a public notice announcement stating of your personal independent. Okay. Well, today you can't do that because there's no way in hell that you can, it would cost you a small fortune to print that in every single newspaper around the globe. Around the union, I should say, not the globe. So you can't do it that way anymore. But that's how it was done simply back then. The other way that brings everybody into it is by contract. Now, back then you didn't have to worry about Social Security number. That's something new that is pushed on at birth. Back then, you didn't need to unless you wanted to. It was a voluntary thing. It still is today, voluntary, but they push it hard on you.
Oh, yeah.
So it all comes down to the voluntary of contract. How they're able to do that is because the 13th Amendment, the current, not the original, clearly states that there is no such thing as involuntary servitude. So you cannot place yourself involuntarily into servitude except for actions of a crime. But there's nothing stating you can't simply volunteer. Your registration to vote is a volunteer action. You're applying for a Social Security number is a voluntary action. You're applying for a driver's license, which again is new stuff, not back at the time. You didn't have those things back then. But these are all new things that were added along to that contract, if you will, that ties each individual into the system deeper and deeper every time they sign up for one of these stupid things. Then comes along the Civil War. This is why the courts, back then, they were able to hear constitutional issues. In the beginning, they were able to hear those type of questions. Okay? Those type of things did not change until the Civil War, with the passing of the Executive Order 1 or 100, whatever you want to call it, from Abraham Lincoln, General Order 100, or Executive Order 1, if you will, with the Civil War declaring officially martial law, which he did not have to inform the public of. If we've gone over this in the past, the only way to get rid of it. We are not operating under Admiralty law. I don't know how many times I got to tell people this. All right, before it finally sinks in. Admiralty law is law of the sea only. Same with maritime law. Law of the sea only. Has nothing to do with the court system you're in today. The court system you are in today, though, is a military court system. However, it is not military. It is under military, it is not admiralty. It is military rule because of the Executive Order 1, or General Order 1. It is because of that. We are still operating and have since the day it passed under martial law. End of story. This is why the court systems can't hear constitutional issues. Okay? Because they're operating not as a regular court system. They're operating under the General Order 100 court system of martial law, which gives the appearance during peacetime of the local government, the local court system and municipalities, to proceed as normal. In other words, proceed as everyday business, if you will, in times of peace. It's outlined in the articles of the martial law doctrine. Okay? It's that simple, folks. This is why they can't hear constitutional cases. Supreme Court can't hear constitutional cases. However, they can make judgments upon a judgment already given on a constitutional issue. There's a difference. They can make judgment or pass judgment on a previous suit that's already been settled, okay, on the judgment itself, whether or not being lawful or unlawful, whether or not they can overturn it or not. However, they officially, even the Supreme Court, does not deal with constitutional questions directly. That's what people don't understand. That's the very confusing part of it. They can only go by the case law, not by the Constitution law. There's two separate things there, and even the Supreme Court cannot deal with a constitutional issue. There's only one court in the land, And it's not even technically a court that can truly hear constitutional issues. Now, some will say it's the Supreme Court of Philadelphia, which may be pretty darn close. Okay, that may very well be the true highest court in the land, because Pennsylvania and Philadelphia is still a commonwealth state. It's always maintained that. That's also where the founding fathers and everybody else all got kind of set everything up there to begin with. But the actual only court or committee, if you will, it's not a court, committee that can actually judge upon the Constitution itself are the same people who vote to make the amendments and so on. They're the only people who can do it. Well, who are they? Your Congress and your Senate, elected by subcommittees to actually review over constitutional issues. In the beginning, the Congress represented the states. The Senate was not an elected position. It was an appointed position to watch over the Congress to make sure they did not pass any laws that were considered to be unconstitutional. They were the police, if you will. The Senate House is the police dogs. If it gets past the police, if you will, the Senate dogs, to sit there and say, okay, yes, this is a constitutional, it's considered constitutional, then from there it would move up to the president. Okay, well, it actually would go to a subcommittee for verification, then to the president. That subcommittee is no longer in existence, it's just the three. Okay, now it just goes through the House, the Senate, then straight to the president. And all branches have their own committee and chambermen. What happened was, what really caused this whole mess to go downhill, not only did we we understand we're operating under General Order 100, martial law. We understand that the 14th Amendment enslaves everyone, right, by contract. And the biggest issue was in order to, because when they first attempted this, the Senate watchdogs weren't allowing these things to go through. So they thought about it, thinking about they, the elite, whoever they may be, said, okay, how can we get the Senate to play on our side of the field? Well, they did that very easily. They simply made that position an electoral position instead of an appointed position. Now, there's no watchdogs in place because the only thing that everybody in both Congress and Senate are really worried about is re-election. They're no longer doing the job they're actually originally put in place to do. And that's the breakdown of the entire history of the United States and why we live in the way we live. You can rebroadcast those last 10 minutes, and you will know everything you will ever need to know for the rest of your entire life. Anytime you ask yourself, well, why or how come, just replay those 10 minutes and you will know why and how come. Duh. I've been preaching this shit for...
Well, the thing about the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that's one thing there. But I think there may be something afoot. Something stinks about what's actually going on today. I do know that they're not attacking or don't plan to attack or haven't said anything about planning any attacks against Pennsylvania. But have you guys noticed New York has been getting a lot of interesting attention lately? I mean, the Sandy Hook, this and that and the other. People are just, they're angry that, the people in, who was at FEMA failed at what people believe is their job over in New Orleans, and now FEMA seems to have pretty much failed at their job in New York and New Jersey and that area with the Sandy Hook mess. And people are like really starting to look really hard at the so-called government because they won't give any more money for relief at Sandy Hook or at for
the damage to
Hurricane
Sandy. Yeah. Governor Christie was on the air on the radio the other day, made a couple announcements. Actually, I believe they finally posted on the not maybe mainstream, but on the web as well, where he basically blames Boehner and all them. Said, look, it's not a Democratic, it's not a Republican thing, it's a human thing. It is just the right thing to do. Some people are making the mistake and referring, and I mean DJs, of the main medias, your morning shows around the globe, are making a mistake. Well, we paid into it. At least they can do is give it back, for this damage. Well, no, you didn't pay into it. Okay, that's a misconception. The states, the individual states, because that's what they were trying to talk about, is the insurance that we paid into as a state, not individual people, but as a state, for this type of events, your FEMA type of event, if you will, or natural disaster thing, and that's really not true. It doesn't really work that way. It's not like the morning DJs were making it out to be, but that's a whole other topic to go into if you really wanted to get in depth of the headache of it. But yeah, Christie called them all out. He said they're all a bunch of idiots. New Jersey, ever since Christie got it, they hated him in the beginning. All the law enforcement, fire department, all state employees hated him. All right, with a passion, till after the first year. Then they all turned around and actually fell in love with the guy. The reason they hated him is because he cut them all. He cut them all back, cut out a lot of their benefits, their retirement bullshit that they had. Like, New Jersey is the highest state to try to live in. Okay, it's got the highest taxes, the highest everything. It's the worst you can get anywhere near. The budget was through the roof. It hasn't been under control for many, many years. He came in, he sliced the budget. He laid off, got rid of a ton of state employees. He reworked the retirement contracts, everything. I mean, the guy really cleaned house. And believe it or not, by the end of his first term, he actually was beginning to make headway as far as into a positive, with the balance and budget. He was actually making a surplus. So that's how he got elected again. And he's and continues to slash the cuts where it needs to be. He's real hard, man. He's hard on everybody. He's hard on state employees. The property taxes actually have not gone up or had a major increase since he's been in office at all. The minimal that it may have gone up is very, very minimal compared to what it's always done in the past. The man is demand's phenomenal. And I'm sure he could be there for the next 50 years if they would have let him. I don't know how New Jersey's set up as far as in that particular position, whether or not it's a 2-term limit like everybody else or not. I'm not sure. But anyhow, he called them all out, told them all, to stick it up their butts. The guy is, like I said, a genius when it comes to politics and it comes to money. Money management, if you will, budget-wise, and they need more people like him in places like New York and California and whatnot, who goes in and will make the hard decisions and cut where it needs to be cut and stop the madness. He constantly tells the government, we don't want your money sticking up your ass, kind of deal, which is great. As far as federal funds, the FEMA stuff, that's a little bit different. It's federal funds, but it's a different bank account, if you will, like having a savings account compared to a checking account. Okay, it's one of those kind of deals. It's a different type of account, and he wants those funds released and taken care of, just like they did in Katrina. But they even screwed over Katrina. It's bad news everywhere. But anyway, I digress. Sorry.
No, that's. I love it when you go off like that, Doc. I mean, I get a lot of good information out of it. It's, he's a businessman. He really is. And obviously he cares about his community. sounds like he's not one of these bought and paid for pocket politicians. That's honorable. That's very, very honorable. We had one like that. We had a couple like that in New Mexico at one time. I think Governor Johnson was one of them. We had another one. He froze all the state wages. Oh, talk about pissing people off. My dad just would not stop ranting about he froze my wages. I'll never get another pay raise as long as that da-da-da. And I was like, so? And he would look at me, and and I'd just nod my head and walk off. Well, one day, we're working out at the ranch, and it was the end of the week. I had something going on the weekend. I needed like $20 or something, and I said, Dad, I need $60. And he goes, you need what? And he handed me a 20, and I said, no, I need 60. I need my pay raise. He goes, well, I can't give you a pay raise. We don't have it. I said, oh, okay. Kind of like the state doesn't have it. And he stopped, and he glared at me, gave me an extra 10. Get out of here. But he got the idea, yeah, you got to be a businessman first. And that's a big part of living in our society successfully. That I'm thinking, hey, that's a big part of life in general. Has to be a huge thing as a state national. Once you get your freedom, you got to know how to negotiate your contracts. You got to know where to, you have to make cuts in what you spend every day, every month. You got to set yourself up for your retirement. You cannot depend on someone else to have your retirement there for you. And yeah, there's a lot of ways for us to do all that. And I hope we get into those in a later conversation. Right now, let's go take another good look at New York. There's a lot of things that have been happening in New York. New York, there's that 9/11 thing. And, all those Occupy movement protesters over there in New York, and then Hurricane Sandy. And it seems that Sandy Hook, right in that general area. And now it looks like they're putting more attention on New York. Are they going to do something else to New York? Do the elitists have something strange planned out against New York again? What are they going to do? Kind of has me going, I wonder what's going on over there. But I kind of understand why they would hit New York. For multiple reasons. I could get into the Twin Towers theory of the two genetic lines being formed into one, because two different genetic lines. There's the elitist genetic line, and there's the normal person genetic line, and the two towers signify that, and then knocking them both down signifies the end of two lines, and putting up one tower means bringing the two genetic lines together. But I'm not going to get into all that. It was, at one time, the capital of the Union for all intended purposes. But that's back when it was a confederation, right, Doc? It was still a confederacy, I believe.
Right, yeah, they used New York as the main housing before, District of Columbia was ever thought of, and they started doing construction on that. Most of the meetings, almost everything at the beginning of the colonies all took place in Philadelphia. That is the largest area, if you will, for history as far as going back to the original colonies and where the so-called signers and whatnot all actually would meet up and have their conferences, or also where they had the liberty, your first freedom of liberty, revolt, the tea, dumping of the tea in the harbors. That was all organized, if you will, out of Pennsylvania area. But yeah, New York was the main, highlight capital city, if you will, at the time prior the forming of the District of Columbia.
Yep. Well, that's been a long talk. How about we listen to a song? Sounds like a good idea. Be back in a little bit. I'm going to see what I can find here.
Enough is enough?
I don't see it, sweetie. I mean, I can probably find it.
I haven't heard that song in a while. That's the only reason I even brought it up. Either that one or Government.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Okay, well, let me see if I can find it.
Should be under E for alphabetical order. Should be under Enough is Enough. I don't think I put under J for Jeremy, which is the artist. Should be under E, so it'll be close to the top.
Okay. Let me.
Cocksuckers.
Uh-oh. Don't freeze up on me. I think this page just froze up on me.
Yeah, it may take a minute to cycle up. Meanwhile, we just keep on going until it kicks in. The song starts, we just stop. If you find it,
okay.
Get it going.
Well, that sounds good to me. Just found
We can talk about this bullshit known as quote-unquote population control. I've been waiting for somebody to bring that up again for some time.
Well, I tell you what, Jesse, how about you bring it up right after this song?
Okay.
Sound good to you? All right.
Yeah, that's totally fine with me.
All right, we are all back, and we have 4 people on. Trying to make everybody's mic live, but my computer works a little bit slow. So,
good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing?
Who do we have on the line? 718.
This is Hack and Don.
Yes, sir.
Calling out
Hi,
in
Don.
New York City.
All right. I'm in Brooklyn.
You guys have questions?
Go ahead, Hack.
Nah, go ahead. Add to what we was listening. I mean, first I just want to say, great show. What you guys is doing. You know, you've been dropping a lot of jewels. As far as, you know, the stuff with people's rights and as far as, you know, owning your birthrights. You know, a lot of people don't know that information, and it's good to have, you know, people out there, you know, letting, you know, the people know, you know, a lot of information that they should know.
Yeah, you're very knowledgeable on the Constitution. Did you go to law school?
Actually, no. I've been, well, let's see. Waco kind of woke me up to there's something wrong in the country, right? And then I have a habit of being pretty hard-headed. And I didn't like my paychecks. Tended to get in trouble with the law real easy and all that kind of stuff. So on my own personal story, I said, well, you know something? I need to get rich and above the law because it's the rich people that never go to jail, which is one of the first things that I noticed. And I said, you know, I'm really sick and tired of being messed with by the government and government agencies. Well, obviously, it's the law that rules us, so I got to learn the law. I got to know what a lawyer knows. Well, it turns out that the lawyers don't know anything. You know, I've been running around since like 1995 or 96 or so, studying law and learning law and going round and round chasing myself. And I can walk.
That's very true. I had to correct the lawyers with an S myself in a few instances, which led me to believe that when it's a free lawyer, they're looking to pressure you to cop out to anything, that whatever little backroom deals they have with the prosecutors. When I myself had the key, you know, to unlock the door to jail or whatever, or the situation, and they refused to acknowledge it, and then I ignored them a day or whatever, and then lo and behold, oh yeah, it is a violation, not a misdemeanor, sorry. Yeah, we'll most likely drop it. And but before that was willing to send me up the river. It's funny how lawyers, either they do it consciously or really they just don't, they're not aware of the variety. You know, you got to kind of specialize in it or had been through the situation. I got young lawyers. Maybe they didn't know. I actually did have a question for you, because, all right, I thought that people won the right, again, to do what we want with our body, or at least women set it off when they won the right to abort a baby or whatever. If you can abort a fetus, and this was proven that it's our body, and constitutionally we have the right to do as we please with it, how is it illegal that a woman charged for sex or for someone to smoke reefer when the government, nobody owns a patent on marijuana or owns a patent on vagina? You know, they own a patent on cocaine and
I can feel that one. I can feel that one. That's one of my favorites, actually.
Go ahead, Tom.
In the simplest form, okay, my background for law, I took 2 years of pre-law when I was 14 years old. I come from a very long line of, I was an overachiever back then. I come from a very long line of law enforcement, if you will. From every position you can think of, from captain all the way on down to dispatch. All right.
Wow.
So I have a large background. What you're referring to is statutes. Okay, those are statute laws, also known as what we refer to as private law. Marijuana itself is not illegal. It's not even unlawful. There are things that surround it that make it illegal or unlawful, but the product itself is not. Also with prostitution, again, prostitution, it all falls under statute laws. It doesn't apply across the entire union. Matter of fact, just outside of Nevada, if you go to Vegas, just outside of Vegas, prostitution is legalized.
It's not legalized in Clark County, though. I used to live in Reno. It's not legal there.
No, it's only one of the one county or two that's there. But
it's only legal in Vegas, as far as I remember. It's only legal in Vegas.
Well, no, it's not Vegas itself. It's just outside. The strip itself, the strip itself, it's not. The county over next to it is. As soon as you get 1 mile across the strip, boom, it's legal. All right, they have brothels there. You actually have to apply for the job. There's an application you have to fill out. There's health reports that you have to maintain. It's actually a set-up lawful system. Marijuana.
That's a conflict itself, both of them, because marijuana is legal in certain states. But the morale behind the push to keep it illegal makes no sense now. It looks stupid to...
Right.
I mean, it makes it obvious that their incentive is not morale. It's economic driven. You know, I don't see how they don't... people don't, rile up or galvanize a movement a little stronger than what I do see. Just speaking in legal terms, there's no patent. You can't patent marijuana. It's a seed. It's photosynthesis or vagina. But they have a lot of rests in the two fields.
Well,
legally, I don't understand it.
A patent is for sale. Think of it as a copyright. So, yes, there's no patent on it because it's a weed. It grows wild. So there's no patent on the seed or crop of marijuana. Okay? So they pass what they call statute laws, which is like your speeding laws, your speed limits, traffic, stop sign. Those are all statute laws. And those vary from county to county, municipality to municipality. And it's the same thing with marijuana. Same thing with prostitution. It all varies. Now, we look at it from two different standpoints. The argument is, okay, we legalize it, we can tax it. So it brings in revenue. Then you look at it from the law enforcement and statute side of the income, the revenue. With it being outlawed, they make a hell of a lot more revenue for that county with it being illegal. That's why it'll never be legalized across the entire union. Because if they did, they would literally cut their revenue income would be cut by over 90%.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's a big. It's all about money. It all comes down to money.
I wish that people would galvanize some type of movement like they did in the 20s to repeal the prohibition of alcohol, where it looked to me from what I read or researched that all of the murders and explosions and shrapnel and innocent bystanders, kind of like in the meteoric pushing of hey, look at all this violence, caused them to repeal it. And when they repealed it, all the bullets fell to the floor. Lo and behold, the violence stopped. What they wanted.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what we're doing. It's just what we're trying to do is we're trying to help the individual end that violence for themselves, one-on-one basis. Because there's no way that I'm going to be able to walk into Congress and say, hey, the 14th Amendment and this and that, and okay, so now it doesn't apply to anybody across the union. Okay? But what I can do is I can take somebody like you and I can say, okay, look, this is how the 14th Amendment is written out. It says this, it says that, and I can show you by definition of the words through a law dictionary exactly what it says, how it applies to you, how it makes you into a slave, okay, to the elitist. Not just you, but there's me, there's my wife, there's your neighbor, there's the guy that's 2 miles down the road from you, there's Jesse, Doc, and everybody on the chat, you know, everybody that's listening, it all applies to them, you know, but it comes from this one amendment. And L.B. Bork wrote a book on it. It's called The Red Amendment. And the reason he calls it the Red Amendment is because red signifies, it symbolizes the color of communism. Okay? Personally, I think I would have picked a little bit different color, which would signify totalitarianism, but he chose correctly. And that is what's going on in our country. We have rampant socialism, which is taking from the working man and giving to the not working man. You know, it is
maybe
you.
That's what their plan for New York is.
Well, yeah, but let's say you go out, you work a 40-hour week every week, and then here comes a government agent, takes half of your paycheck, gives it to me, and all I did is sit my ass down on the couch. You know what I'm saying?
Slavery, in a way, because 80% of the country slaves at a job 40, 50 hours a week, and all you get is room and board, no money to save.
Right. But look at it this way. Okay? You're thinking a slave is somebody that he has a master, you know, and his master is going to go out there and whip him if he doesn't work, you know, and this guy works from sun up to sundown, and he doesn't make any money out of it. He doesn't get anything from the fruits of his labor, anything more than a little room to lay his body down in at the end of the day, and maybe three meals, and maybe not even hot meals, just 3 meals in a day if he's lucky, right? Maybe a pair of pants and a shirt, even though it's wintertime and it's cold outside.
That's what he just said, Jose. We're all that way. We work 40 hours a week. We're all slave to the system. But it's all because of brainwashing.
That's exactly what they want.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a brainwashing and indoctrination that you want more. It's because we became a union of users. No, in other words, consumers. That's the word. Thank you. Yeah, we became a union of consumers instead of producers. And when you have the mindset of like songs from Madonna with Material World, it's a material world, I'm a material girl. Okay? These are the things that are all part of the brainwashing indoctrination that says, hey, I need to make more money so I can have more stuff. We have forgotten how to live within our means. Right. If you live within your means, okay, debt-free, pay off your mortgage, pay off the farm, so on and so forth, grow your own crops. Even today, this is all very doable. It's what State Nationals, the lifestyle, is what we do. So we're not dependent upon the system. We don't need the system for our food and our shelter. We're not in debt, so we're not burdened by their societal rules type of deal. So everybody can do this. However, it's a matter of changing our mindset. Because currently our mindset is, oh, it's Christmas, we got to go with $1 million in debt because otherwise we're going to be bad parents because the kids don't have 32 things to open up. You know, or whatever the reason may be. Okay. Yeah, you know,
which is another made-up thing. Christmas, so you can spend your money at the end of the year. Whatever you saved up, now you spend it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. And then
You get a nice check in a couple of weeks anyway after Christmas, right? You can go into debt, spend all that money. You're going to get a Social Security end of the year return if you're lucky to get one of those, and boom, you got all that money again. It's just asinine the way
they set us up for failure educationally. Hector was saying that earlier, that look at the junk they teach you in school. Where does that take you? Instead of teaching you a craft, like, oh, this is the crafts that, where you produce things like plumbing, carpentry, engineering, or, whatever, mechanicry, whatever.
Schools don't teach you basic survival skills. They just tell you basically how to pay rent in the system, how to basically be another robot. Just get a regular job, pay your rent, and just do the same thing. Go home at 6 o'clock, put on the TV, you got your cable. Whatever's happening, you become lazy. You get caught up in the television. And forget about it.
They train you to be a laborer. That's all they're training you to do, to labor. They don't. I wonder what people are getting out of a $40,000 a year school, because they end up Ivy League later. The elite schools that I've worked with in the past, and from 0th grade to 12th grade, $40,000 a year. So, but they're great. The schools are nice, but whoa, they're learning some other stuff. What they need to navigate through their life, like it's planned for them already. Us, we go to the, regular public school, and they teach us things that are like you don't really need to know, and add a pressure to the youth. They're going crazy trying to learn these things like they're going to be a scientist or mathematician or something, and what they lack is the basics, fundamental knowledges of survival.
Yep, that's
it's like
true.
They're dumbing people
that
out
is
on
very
purpose,
true.
even with music, with the cultural, musically, any entertainment in general.
Yes,
the media, news.
Yeah.
Why do you think football players make so much money? Why do you think football players make so much money?
It's sickening.
That's a whole different story too. I mean, you think
about, right?
Talking about sports, how you have sportsmen. I know that they train all year, for these games and all that. But you think about all the revenue they intaking from, from the sponsors and the people that pay for these tickets, and they buy expensive tickets, and people that work hard every day, that get up early in the morning and work every day to get their cities running, whether they be a person that drives a bus or a train that gets you, to your job, and they getting paid pennies while, these guys are out here, playing around. And then the thing is that a lot of these sports entertainment guys, they start losing, I guess the reality, and losing their identity, where they start doing these absurd things when, it's a privilege to be in some of the situations that these guys are in, and then they just kind of blow it. And, you see them on the news. Same thing for celebrities. It's like, you're on TV, you're doing this, you're getting paid money just to entertain people and, make a fool out of yourself, and, it's like you're getting paid all this amount of money while people are busting their behind every day, to do their job. Same thing for the Congress, I know they get up early in the morning and probably get things done, but they're getting paid enormous amount of money to play games. And, these guys, I mean, they supposedly went to school for all these years and master, what their craft or whatever they're in Congress for, and they can't get the numbers right. This is a ridiculous problem that we right now had to even go through the scale and still have problems where they didn't give New York the amount of money that they needed to fix what they needed to fix. These people that were affected by Hurricane Sandy are hardworking people and actually pay high prices in whatever property taxes they're paying to live in those areas, because those areas is not poor areas and stuff, and not to leave out the poor people that were also affected as well. But I'm talking about You got people that actually work hard and spend their money, you know, their life savings on all, you know, on their house and all this, and they lost everything. And you got FEMA telling, oh, they're not covering this, and then you got the insurance playing games, you know, about, oh, we don't cover flood insurance and this and that. I said, what are you know, like, these people ain't paying for this service. So it's like, you know, they actually turn the tables on you where, you know, they make it seem like you're begging them. Meanwhile, you've been paying all these years, you know, this insurance. Where's all this money going? That's another thing. They need to start auditing and putting federal investigations on all these insurance companies and anybody that's involved with that has to do with handling of the money that people are paying, their hard-earned taxes, and then when it comes to a problem and you know, some tragedy, whether it's natural or unnatural, that, you know, there's no money to be for these people. This is disgrace. And
they all in the same fraternity, though, B. It's against their fraternity rules to rat each other. Then up to the president. Yeah. You know, they all in the same organizations, and their fraternities are funny. You know, they it's like Pinky and the Brain. They come together to try to, like a good couple of hundred guys to divulge how to corner the world market.
That is so funny because just the other day that came across my mind with Pinky and the Brain. I said I told my wife the other day I want to create a cartoon with Pinky and the Brain, okay, and put Obama's head on Brain because the only thing he wants to do every day is take over the world. And put the Congress, a symbol for the Congress, on Pinky, and that would be hysterical.
Makes sense.
I just thought of that the other day. I was like, man, I got to do that. I was just telling the wife. That's funny that you brought it up. The reason I mentioned sports, though. One second, let me backtrack here for one quick second. If I can stop coughing and breathe. Excuse me.
Well, it's all part of the agenda. It really is. There's a big, huge agenda going on that people don't know about, and just about everybody that does know about it is the one getting called conspiracy nuts. Conspiracy theories and conspiracy nuts, right? I'm a conspiracy nut because I know what's going on. I do.
You took the pill.
I really
like
do.
Like in the Matrix, you take the truth pill.
Yeah, you go.
I'm aware of what's else going on.
You've seen something that's going on. You see that it's wrong. You took the truth pill. You followed the rabbit hole, and I guarantee you, I've been chasing this stupid white rabbit down this rabbit hole for almost since about 95, 96, and I still haven't found the bottom. And there's people that have been chasing that rabbit longer than I have, and they still haven't found the bottom. How's that? You know,
well, you have, now that you found us, you found the TRA, you found the bottom.
Well, you found the way back out.
Right, yeah.
You see yourself going in.
Right.
Now, you'll see yourself coming out. The more you learn about what's actually going on, you'll start seeing yourself coming out, because I guarantee you, we know how to get out of the system. We know how the Matrix is built. We know the way out. And I know you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a second. No, come on. I tell you what. Go over to PacAlliance.us, PacAlliance.us, and read. Just get on there and start clicking on stuff and go through it and read. And you will see that the 14th Amendment is the reason why we are all enslaved. Lincoln did not free anybody. He equalized everybody. Okay? He equalized everybody. He took everybody and made them equal under the federal government. Because before that, we were not under the federal government. We were either non-citizens or we were citizens of the state that we lived in, which is correctly put, by definition, the word state. State, country, and nation all mean exactly the same thing. When I say state, I mean country, I mean nation. When I say nation, I mean country and state. When I say country, I mean state and nation. By definition, they all mean the same. Under law, they all mean the same. The United States is not a country. It is an international body. When I say United States of America, what I should be saying is the United Nations of America. Okay? And that is true. That's why.
Now let's go a little bit deeper. Go ahead. You're probably getting to the point.
You're
probably getting to the point.
Powers. How does the CIA get the? Who gives the CIA the license and green light to do the things they do across the world? You know what? How do we give the power to the feds?
They give themselves a thing, right?
To push governments out.
Okay. Actually,
do you understand how kings and queens and emperors look at the people below them? You know how royalty and
Leona Helmsley, the little people.
Yeah, Leona Helmsley, the Queen of England, the King of Spain. You know,
Donald Trump.
They look at us as being their subjects, and it says so right there in the 14th Amendment. One of the first lines it says, "Subject to the jurisdiction." Well, you look up what the word "subject" is. You run the etymology on it, which is the history on the word, and it means serf. Serf is another word as slave. You know, subject to their slave to their jurisdiction. Okay.
Now the reason why they are off, Jose, because we're down to the last couple of minutes, guys. Thank you for calling. Please call back in again next week.
Show.
Keep
it going. Keep the information.
Oh, absolutely. You guys can hang online with us. If you guys hang online with us, we can do an hour. We can hang out for another hour. It'll be recorded so it can be heard in the archive. But our live listeners will be going away in about 8 minutes. Right. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. The question on the CIA, though, where that comes from, that is actually an international organization that does not fall under U.S., if you will. They have their own. They operate from the for the U.S. under an international law form, if you will. That's how the CIA has their power. It's at an international level, just like the KGB, just like all the other, not all alphabets, but
Interpol.
All your intelligent agencies, yes, Interpol, KGB, CIA, they actually all work from the exact same playbook as far as rule book, if you will. Okay, and whether you're MI6, whether you're what doesn't matter. They're all under the same rules and regulations, and that's at an international level. Okay, in other words, technically and officially, the CIA is not even allowed to operate here in the United States. Did you know that? That's actually part of their bylaws. They're not even allowed to operate here in the U.S. However, they do. Not that they're just stationed here and their intelligence part is for the United States. They are actually inside holding common jobs, okay, jobs that are non-elected, non-appointed, things that you don't even know, like it's the everyday appointed type of job, like secretary or whatever, for whatever office. In all the governor's offices. Every governor office in the union actually has a minimum of one or more CIA operatives working at a low-level entry position within their company. They have it. They're there. Okay. That's known fact. That's not make-believe. It's not conspiracy. That's a known fact. But they're technically not operating here in the U.S. Now, we were talking about jurisdiction. To get into that, now why, like you're saying, we're saying, how can they do all this? The District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., that 10-mile square, is actually foreign territory to the Union. It doesn't belong to us. It's not like we say, Jose was just saying the difference, state, nation, country is all the same. And why the United States of America is neither is the district. It's simply a 10-mile district. It is not a state. It is not a nation. It is not a country in any way, shape, or form. It is simply a district corporation, and it always has been from day one. It was set up that way to operate on the international level. That's what Congress and all that was originally set up for. It originally, and still is today, not a country, has nothing to do with it. That's all part of the brainwashing, and why people so easily fall for the contracts of Social Security, driver's license, and all the other BS that goes along with it, with the so-called benefits. But yeah, like I said, it's foreign territory. If you look at your law book, one of the oldest law books out there is Bouvier's 1856. It's the one we use most often here on air. It clearly states in the title of the book, all right, Bouvier's Law Dictionary, 1856, focusing on the Constitution of the United States of America and other foreign laws. It tells you right in the title of the law dictionary that the United States of America is a foreign law system. It is not part of the Union. They tell us in plain sight. We just don't see it with our dumbing down process, especially since the public school system came about in the 1940s. When they forced the public school system on it, then it was government-controlled school systems. They took out the regular books that people were usually learning from, which included the law. They took the law out of the classroom, they took the Bible out of the classroom, and started teaching us BS. Okay? That was all done intentionally. If you guys get a chance, check out the movie HR, Human Resources. You can find it at the PAC YouTube channel, or anywhere on YouTube, actually. There's a short one. It's only like 10 minutes long or so. But if you go to the PAC Alliance site and click on media, it might be put back up there. If not, it's definitely on our PAC YouTube channel. It's a couple hours long. It's a full-length documentary, and it shows you how the school system went from educating us to training us to do just one job. So in other words, if you want to build a, it's all factory, the factory line, just like the line chef. You're not a full chef. You're not going to cook the full meal. This guy cooks the mashed potatoes. That guy cooks the vegetables. This guy cooks the steak. And this one over here makes the salad. It's the same thing in industry that we have. You go to these factory workers. Not one person builds an entire car. One guy makes the carburetor. Another guy makes a different part of the motor. Another guy makes the interior seat. You know what I mean? It's all factory. It's all programmed since the 1940s. They did this to turn us into a full-scale labor force. And then, through other indoctrination and dumbing us down away from the law, away from the moral code of any religion, because outlaw religion in the classroom, they dumbed us all down away from that. It didn't happen overnight. It took generations to do so. All right. Turned us into consumers. And that brings us to where we are today. Live show's about over. We thank you for joining us tonight. Sorry I could not be on as often as I was. I didn't expect to be on as often as I was tonight as it is. We love you. Please hang out. Check us out in the archive. We'll be here for a while yet. Gentlemen callers, you guys still with us?
Looks like they dropped off the board there, Doc.
Oh, no. Oh, well.
I think all we have was me, you, and Jess.
All righty then. Well, it's up to you guys. Yeah. I hope the guys are listening and they call back in again. That was probably, in the last 4 years, that was probably two of the best callers, some of the best callers that we've ever had on the show. They seemed like they were fairly new to the show. So a lot of repeating, which is great with that. So, yeah, great show, guys. Fantastic. Thank those guys for calling in, and please do so again next week. If you call us at the beginning of the show, we can keep you on for the full 2 hours and really get into this much deeper. Jose, I want to thank you again for hosting and playing lead there. Hopefully next week I'll be in better shape. But as of now, consider yourself running lead next week as well.
Okay, Doc. Well, thank you. And we're officially into the last hour. All right.
Yay.
Well, yeah, it would have been nice for them to have stayed with us. I don't think they quite got the message that we were going into a third hour with all of this. I was so looking forward to answering more questions. I mean, you know, we had live bodies, and it wasn't just us again discussing, you know, what we discussed. But that's neither here nor there. Let's keep on going. This is good.
There you go. Now that I stopped
but
coughing,
yeah.
I want to go back to that sport point I was trying to make earlier, and I never got through it because because of my coughing and everything else. I was going to ask, well, how many people have ever heard of Babe Ruth? Whether you like baseball or not, I'm sure you know who Babe Ruth is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my point being, back in the day when Babe Ruth was playing ball, and he's one of, you know, besides, you know, a couple others like Joe DiMaggio and whatnot, or even going further back than that. But the point being is, those guys had regular jobs.
Mm-hmm.
They got paid as professional sports player. I believe the highest, now don't quote me on this, going by memory, and I haven't looked at that information since the 70s. I believe Babe Ruth's highest salary at any time, near his end of his career, was 5 cents a game. That's what he got paid. He got paid a nickel a game and worked a regular 40-plus hour, you know, back then it was 60 hours, whatever it was, but he worked in a regular job. Now, everybody also knows I always pick on Babe Ruth because everybody knows him as the, you know, the home run hitter of baseball, right? Most famous home run hitter of baseball. You know what else he was also famous for, and still holds that record today, I believe?
Chewing tobacco.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. All baseball players chew tobacco.
There you go. He also holds the record for the person struck out the most. There was no in between with him. He either struck out or he hit a home run.
Wow.
Has the lowest base hit on record. Has the highest strikeouts and the highest home run record.
Wow. That is cool.
That old ever. People don't realize that. He was also a drunk.
Well, I knew that.
But he was often at the game drunk as a skunk. When he was drunk, he struck out. When he was semi-sober, he'd hit home runs, you know, kind of deal. Very few people realize, because they never publicized that part of it, you know, that you know, he's also, the strikeout king of the game. He would have been thrown out of the game long time ago in his early on in his career if he also didn't hold the home run hitting record as well. But a little trivia there. But the point about the sports and all, back then, you did it. Yeah, you may have got a couple of pennies to play the game, okay, to help, you know, for your time because you were still entertaining. You know, it was still a franchise. But back then, they had regular jobs. All right. All sports, football, it doesn't matter the name of the sport.
Ow.
It's all about entertaining. It's all, back then, was the original live entertainment that was always going on, even before your television came about. Okay? We haven't had TV that long, folks. It goes back to the radio. The radio was your original entertainment. And what they do, they broadcasted all the games because it was entertainment value to distract you from whatever else they may be doing or what was going on around the union. And it's the same way today. And now they do it higher paid. The guys were right, though, with the point as well. What he was talking about was the trades. Many schools back in my day, they all had, today you still have some vocational schools out there. Yeah, VOTEC, as we called it. which is your vocational schools, which is where you learned your trades. When I was in school, they had all these extra programs. There was less money coming in. There was more of everything. More band, more music, more wood shop, metal shop. You learned welding, crafting, automotive, cooking, typing, home ec, sewing. These are all the things that were taught, even as early on as when I was in school. You know, we're only talking 30 years ago, folks, 40 years ago, when I was going, you know, I had all this still in school. One by one, all those programs were eliminated, and they used the excuse to do so as it's not in the budget. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's in the budget before, nothing's changed, yet taxes have gone up. So what else must have gone up to where it's no longer in the budget?
Sports.
This is, no, comes into salaries, yes, but not sports, teacher salaries and all. What came into play was big unions. And one of the largest in the union is the teachers, the EAU or whatever it's called.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The second they took hold, that was the end of the educational system. That was the end of it, folks.
Well, yeah. I mean, Reagan didn't help out, you know, in the educational system much at all either, because when he was in office, that's when they nationalized the educational system. That's when the NEA started. And in the NEA, at the very heart of it, is massive corruption, massive quantities of corruption. And they're the ones that approve the history books, you know, approve and disapprove what the children are going to be studying with history books, the math books, and this, that, and the other. Too bad they haven't found out how to completely mess up math and science, you know, because otherwise we wouldn't be learning anything at all now, would we?
Well, they've messed up math enough. They've messed up math big time. And you know how they did it? They brought in multiple algorithms. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
Algorithm. Sorry about that word, especially having a cold don't help. There was a very simple algorithm we all grew up on. All right, which an algorithm is the formula that you use to solve a problem. What they've done, because it was too simple, everybody was too smart. Oh, we can't do it that way anymore because that's too damn smart, because you guys are learning too much. We're going to have to throw a different one at you. So we're no longer going to use this form. We're going to use this form instead. Well, now, instead of just the one basic that everybody learned from, how to do a simple math, how to do simple, subtraction, multiplication, division, with the simple algorithms, they've complicated it, mathematics, so bad that students are having trouble figuring out 2 plus 2. Because you can't do it just, 2 with a plus sign over 2 equals, let's see, add up this row, 2 plus 2, that's 4. Oh, you can't do it that way anymore. That's too simple. And the higher classes, because now there's so many algorithms, so many formulas that has to be used to figure out a math problem, that from the 5th grade up, you're allowed and you're taught to use a calculator.
Now that is dumbing down. That is a huge part of the dumbing down thing.
I'm going to believe what this little handheld computer is going to tell me the answer is. And I have no clue other than the formula. If I type in the formula correctly, I'll have the right answer. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to figure it out on a piece of paper without it.
Can I say something?
That's how they dumb down math. That's how they destroyed mathematics. There's a great YouTube video. It's only about 10, 15 minutes long. excuse me, exactly on that, and I'll look through. I have it linked. They're going to find it. I'll look through it and have that for you guys during the week. Check it out. But it's only about 10, 15 minutes, and it's strictly on mathematics. It's about 10, 15 minutes long. She was a high school or college teacher, taught math. That was her major. She's a math teacher. And she shows you exactly how we went from the basic algorithm to all this other BS and how they want you to do it. Now, on top of all that, now they have such a thing. Now, we all have heard about, everybody gets a trophy. There's no such thing as winners and losers anymore. Everybody wins just by participating. You get a trophy. All right? It's wrong. That is, again, part of the dumbing down because it sits there and says, okay, guess what? I'll get a trophy whether I do good or not just by participating.
Yeah.
No
and then
encouragement to do better, in other words. No encouragement to do better. So that was another part of this whole dumbing down. But getting back to the grading issue, okay, all part of everyone wins and gets a trophy. Now, even if the answer is wrong, but the teacher can see that you put a good effort in, and you can explain how you came up with that particular answer, even though it's wrong, but how you came about from A, B, to answer C, okay, it's considered a correct answer. But it's actually wrong. What the fuck is that crap? Hello? Where happened to the black and white, right or wrong, winner, loser? End of story, folks. It all falls on this whole crap with political correctness and all the other BS is out there. Oh, we can't say that anymore. Somebody may be offended. Well, too okay?
You know what I do? Anytime I walk around to the store, sorry guys, I've been waiting to say something for like 20 minutes. I walk around to the store and I see this chick, okay, at my local Walmart. She's Jewish, obviously, because she's got the Star of David around her neck. So I know she's Jewish, so I'll wish her a happy Hanukkah or whatever. But otherwise, everybody else, I'll wish a Merry Christmas. If I offend you, suck it up and deal with it, princess. I don't care. That's one of my things. The other thing I was going to tell you is about the whole math thing. In school, they have you do, it's really stupid. They have you do, the original arithmetic, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, the fractions, decimals, the 6 major things you're only going to need to use for the rest of your frickin' life. Pardon. Excuse me. However, I can do geometry just fine. I play pool quite a bit. I bowl a lot, okay? And it's all geometry. They will not let me, meaning GED, high school courses, high school, whatever, will not let me do geometry even though they know I know how to do it until I complete algebra. Fuck your algebra, dude. I'm not going to need it in my life.
Yep.
Seriously, they teach you shit. They teach you stupid shit like calculus. I'm never going to need or do calculus. Okay, maybe I can see a little bit of algebra, like if you're not construction worker, but if you're building a building or something. But seriously, I don't use algebra every day. I use geometry more than I use algebra.
Yeah, but you do it automatically. You do the geometry in your head when you're playing pool. When you're driving, you're using.
Mm-hmm.
When you're, you do.
Not only that,
you do. As a matter of fact,
it's
as
visual.
a matter of fact,
it's a visual thing.
It goes a little bit further than just geometry, sweetie. You're also doing an amount of physics.
Mm-hmm.
A small amount of physics.
Especially when you're driving.
Okay.
Especially when you're driving.
Yeah. And
the
both
physics
geometry,
especially.
when you can do that in your head without thinking about it, you've gone beyond the algebra part of it. The algebra part of it is
the school system doesn't want you to realize that. They want to make you do this before they will do what you know how to do, which is bullshit, which is why I just quit going to school because of it. My senior year, I dropped out, and I kind of wish I didn't, but I'm glad I did, because I know what I can do. I know what I'm capable of. Yeah, I've got mental disabilities, but that's because y'all gave me stupid shots when I was a kid that totally created my mental disabilities. But my point of what I was going to say is that I know what I can do. I know what I can't do, and I'm not going to sit here and do something that I don't have to do for everyday life. Like you were saying, driving is more physics than it is geometry, but geometry is put in there as well.
Yeah.
You know, and I learned how to drive before I was even 16, before I even got my license at the age of 21, okay? And the only reason I waited so late was legal issues. We're not going to talk about that. But it's stupid. That's one of the biggest reasons I dropped out is because my teachers would not let me excel and do what I knew I could do until I did their bullshit. And I kept telling them, I'm not doing your bullshit. I'm 18 years old. I can leave here if I want to. Oh, well, you're just going to screw up your education and you're going to have one hell of a time. Bullshit. I make more now, and I dropped out of high school than I would if I kept taking your stupid shit.
Exactly.
Well,
and that does not include my Social Security. That does not include my Social Security. I have 2 jobs. I do not have a degree. I get over $1,000 a month alone on my paper route and my custodial job. And I don't have a degree. I don't have shit.
Like I wanted to say, you know, when the 2 gentlemen were on, it's all part of the agenda. All of it. The whole mess is just all part of the stupid agenda that these idiots have when it comes to controlling us.
You want to talk about other controlling issues there, bro?
It's about dumbing us down. It's about controlling us. It's about sucking the value out of everything that we have, you know, especially our labor.
Population control. Let's talk about that.
Okay, you want to talk about population control? Cool.
Okay,
yes, I do. I've been wanting to talk about population control for the last couple of weeks. Let's go for it.
We can do that. Just hang on a second. Let me digress there 1 second. Oh, because it's funny.
Okay.
Right. You brought up physics, right? Physics, theory of physics, so on and so forth. One of my favorite lectures, when I was at the university, when I was in college, one of my favorite lectures was for my physics class. You know the stupid little hollowed plastic gun-shaped toy that we used to have back in the thing? And it had a little plastic white ball that used to go plug onto it, all right? And then when you squeezed it, it was soft plastic. When you squeezed it, this is just a hollow tube, all right? It's sealed. You put the ball in there, well, it creates a natural vacuum. When you squeeze this plastic, real soft plastic type of gun thing, and the ball gets shot out, right? And you hear this sound that goes pop.
Yeah.
Right? Pop. And the ball shoots out.
Right.
The lecture is 4 hours long in physics to explain why you hear the sound pop.
You ain't gotta be kidding me.
Nope.
4 hours for that?
4 hours in physics lecture to explain pop.
Oh my God.
Like I said,
that right there, that's the NEA at work.
Well,
that is the NEA at work.
That was actually a tenor professor from a major university. I didn't attend the lecture live, but you think that's funny?
Really?
Yeah, that would go one step further. There's a book out there. You cannot buy the book. You cannot check it out from a library. You can only find it in a resource section. Usually at the universities, most libraries don't even have it. Okay? And it's called, and like all resources books, it's one thing. It covers one specific, if you will. It's a proof book. One of the only proof books on the topic. The book is about 6 inches thick.
Jeez.
Right? It's of a large,
That's a big ass book.
Yeah, and you know what the topic is? You know what it proves?
Wait, I've got something in my mouth. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
Any guesses?
Why a balloon holds air? I don't know.
No.
You know?
It's a 6-inch thick book. It's a proof book, and the only thing it covers and proves is that 1 is a whole number, and 1 plus 1 equals 2.
No way.
Yes, sir.
Oh my God. The guy that wrote.
That's it.
The guy that wrote that book is the one that knows how to divide by 0, right?
You got it. Yep, that's the only thing it does. 1 is a whole number, and 1 plus 1 equals 2.
Oh,
It is the most it's thick.
Well, look, I took a class to become a welder. Okay, I'm a certified welder. I am. And it took me all of 3 months to become a certified welder with the stick style of welder. Okay, now I can do what's called 4G. That's 4 different directions. That's flat, like as in a tabletop. Okay, that's going up a wall and across the ceiling. Okay, and any variation thereof with a stick. Or maybe that's 3. I don't remember. It's been a couple of years. And my manual to learn all that is all of 1/2 inch thick. Okay? And seriously, it's in big type. Not these tiny little letters that you would think. You know, and I'm working with electricity, hot steel, gravity, you know, and I mean, there's a whole bunch of different calculations that you got to be able to work, both in your mind, your eyes, and your hands, and you're wearing a mask that you cannot see through until that stick is starting to burn, all at the same time. And my manual's 1/2 inch thick, and in big type, with pictures. Okay? And that's to become a certified welder. And some idiot writes a 6-inch book to prove the number 1 exists, and that 1 and 1 is 2.
Yep.
You know, that's like the U.S. government's investment of 3/4. I'm not bullshitting either. 3/4 to 4/5 of $1 million, where they sent this man and this woman down into Africa just to prove a point about washing your balls. It is. It's stupid. It's just stupid. And the other guy, what they spent $1.5 million to put a shrimp on a treadmill? Really? We need these kinds of studies. You know, but that's all part of the agenda.
It is.
That's
it's
all part of the agenda.
Yes. It's crazy. But I'll tell you, like I said, I got family members. You know, you talk about higher education, this, that, and the other thing. All right. And I'm telling you, I know 8th grade dropouts that put more money in their pocket in a year than a doctor. Okay.
Thank you.
Yep.
And you know, when you start, you open your own practice. You got all this overhead. You got this, that, and the other thing. Blah 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 blah. And you got, of course, you're paying off 4 years plus, depending on what medical field you go in. You have 4 years plus worth of debt. Okay. By the time you get done with all that crap, you can actually gross more in your lifetime as a tractor trailer driver, even working for somebody else, averaging about $50,000 a year. And you're going to put more money in your pocket, more cash flow in your pocket, than somebody who's got a degree as a doctorate.
Yep.
It's a piece of paper, folks. And you got to be in it for the right reason. If you're in it for the money, regular practitioner is not the way. Dental, they do okay. They do pretty decent. Dentists, they do real good. Also, if you're going to go into medical fiction, go into specialist. It costs you a lot more money to get into it, but over your lifetime, you'll actually will finally make more than the 8th grade tractor trailer driver. But in the beginning, you won't. Okay. You sit there and you get all your overhead. If you're not specializing in a specific, I don't care if it's proctology, I don't care if it's, gynecology, I don't care if it's surgery, heart surgery, brain, it doesn't matter. But specify. If you're a specialist, all right, you'll do good. Now, one of the best doctors you could ever go to in your entire life for anything, and if you're going to go into the field and for finance-wise or just even to really get into education, and the reason I know this is because I almost went that course myself. Not only did I do 2 years of pre-law, I also did a little bit of pre-med. Like I said, I was an overachiever. Become a coroner. All right? You watch all these TV shows, going all the way back. Like back in our day, you had Quincy M.E., medical examiner. All right? Whether you're watching NCIS, who's the most informed, the wealthiest on the whole show? Ducky. What is he? He's the coroner. He's the NCIS. These guys are your highest paid and most highly educated above all in the profession. Because not only do they have to go through regular medical school, not only do they need to be skilled as a surgeon, okay, even though they're working on dead people,
they're still working on people.
They need to know the ins and outs and in depth of all the forensic science and whatnot out there. They have an 11 years of extended education beyond. And I think that 11 years actually includes the first 4 years of standard medical school. So they have 8 additional years, if you will, of full-time education, university education in medical field to become a licensed medical examiner. That's the path to go, folks. Those people have the knowledge. Those people are in demand. Okay, and it's a lifetime job. Once you come out and whatever you go into, whether you work for a county, state, federal, no matter who you work for, one of the, military, anything, okay? That's probably one of the highest paid positions within the union for, no matter what department you work in. They are above all. And if you ever need to go see a doctor, if you ever do need to see a doctor, find a coroner to go to. You'll get the correct answer. You'll get the correct diagnosis and correct problems and whatnot. I was lucky and had the privilege when I first got hurt and had my x-rays and all that. One of the coroners was actually on our insurance payroll, and I was able to take all the BS from all these other doctors and all these other things and actually go see the coroner for his write-up and his proper diagnosis. And I'll tell you what a world of difference.
Yeah, but Doc, the coroner, he's there for a reason. And mainly the coroners are there to tell the truth, not to bill you with bullshit and lies and medications, but to give you the honest truth as to what it is that's going on or what happened. Right? I mean, they're not getting paid by some big, huge chem pharma company like DuPont or Dow, to push you and pump you up full of chemicals, unless you're dead, which even I disagree with that. That's not right. That's nasty. And that is desecrating the body, in my book.
Well,
but they're not paid to, pump you up with all this crap that ain't good for you anyway.
Well, it's also the only true title. Medical examiner is a medical examiner. Doctors, just like lawyers, what do lawyers do? They practice law. They have law practices.
They lie.
Yeah.
They practice medicine. They have medical practices. Well, stop practicing and start healing, folks. It's in the damn title. They're only practicing at medicine. They're only practicing at law. Just like you practice to write your handwriting neatly.
You practice to... Yeah. It's all about practice. It's not about doing. It's about practicing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why they hardly...
Practice. Well, what the fuck are you practicing? You know, how many freaking years you go to practice and start actually doing? Okay? Give me a break, you know? But eventually the practice has to end and the doing has to start.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, it's crazy. It's madness. I mean, I got relatives that have gone the whole, you know, career and university and all that stuff. And now one of my favorite is one of my younger cousins there. He's got a full degree, graduated top 10% of his class, you know, marine biologist. You know what? He's never worked a day in the damn field. And yet he graduated top 10% of his class. You know what he does for a living? And he does very well. Has his own subcontracting construction work.
Yeah, but do you realize how valuable a subcontractor actually is?
Oh, God,
it's a good one. A good one. And I'm not even going to get into the ones that don't know what they're doing, but the good ones, they're valuable. You know, but it's not rocket science, and you don't have to have a doctor's degree to get into subcontracting. No. You just got to understand what the customer needs and how to put it there.
Well, and it's like job in his field. All right, like I said, top 10% could not get a job. Needed money.
Of course not.
He started doing odd jobs. You know, hanging ceiling fans, whatever. You know, like handyman kind of deal.
Yeah.
Well, on top of, he was also working as a car salesman. Okay, so he was doing that as a sideline job because he just wasn't making enough to get car stuff. But he was, worked as a car salesman. Couldn't find a career in his, what he went to school for. Started as a car salesman. Was working part time, on his, as a handyman kind of deal. I think it was within less than 6 months. He had so much work, he quit his car salesman job and actually had to go through and get all the licenses and everything else, and ended up opening his own construction company.
Yeah, no, see, I did almost the exact same thing.
It's like, why the hell through all that higher education crap?
Well, I did almost the exact same thing, Doc. I was working as it kind of started off, me out there looking for odd jobs, odds and ends, something to do. I didn't have a job, but I had a pickup, and I know how to clean a yard. So I'm looking around. I see this lady working in her yard, and I drove up to the house, and I was over her fence. I said, "Hey, ma'am, I see you're working on your yard. Can I help you? Do you need some professional yard cleaning or something like that?" And what she said was, "Yeah, I could use the help. How much do you charge?" Aha. That's where I made the mistake. I said, well, because I was wanting to be fair. I didn't want to go too high. I said, yeah, $10, $12 an hour. And she goes, okay, yeah, that sounds great. My steadiest customer, my best customer was her. And I only charged her $10 an hour. That's what I got paid. That's what we agreed upon. And I worked for that lady for almost 6 months. And it wasn't daily work. It wasn't every day. She had my phone number, my cell phone. She'd call me up. We'd set an appointment. I'd write it down on my little book. And I'd go there at an appointed hour. Normally it was about 10:30 in the morning. because when I'm working for me, I don't get up early, and I don't like being at work before 9. So I'd show up at her house, more or less 10:30, and I'd work 2-3 hours, and then from there I'd go to somebody else's house. But that lady referred me to every single one of her friends, and I ended up working for them at $25 an hour. And one day I told her, well, we're going to have to renegotiate, our working contract. She goes, well, how much are you wanting? I said, I don't know. I've been getting $25 an hour from everybody else. And she goes, you're not getting anything more than maybe 15. And I said, well, I'd really appreciate the 25. And she goes, I'll give you 15. And I said, you know what? Since you've referred me to all of these people, I'll take 12.5. And we settled at 12.5. But by the time wintertime came, and I started this like in April, and I'm talking April to the first snow is something like October, mid-October area. In that little period of time, I ended up having to hire help to clean these yards because I had so much to do. I had a little black book with 150 names of yards that I would go to. And I ended up having to go there at 7 o'clock in the morning just so that I could finish before sundown. I had that much to do. I ended up selling the book. I sold the book. I said, heck with this noise, I quit. I couldn't find people to go out there and do the work that I needed done, although I had the money to pay them. I couldn't find people to go out there and clean yards. And people complain about, oh, well, I can't find a job. You know what? The jobs are out there. The work is out there. What we don't have
ambition.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's the exact word. I was going to say something else. Well, they both fit. The motivation and the ambition.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much I sold that little book for? Hey, Doc, you want to know how much I sold that little book with 150, 200 names for?
$5,000?
20.
20. There you go. I was low side.
I sold it for $20,000 to a guy that already had his business running. He'd had his business running for about 3 or 4 years, right? And he had crews. He had like 2 or 3 crews running around doing their thing. But he wanted my area too, which was sort of a upscale, ritzy. We're talking houses with these, 4-foot thick walls around the houses. Instead of a fence, it's this big, huge wall, and it's all adobe, and they're living in these big adobe houses that are really expensive and all that kind of. Anyways, I'm not going to give away exactly the name of the area, but I'll say it's somewhere near
higher
the
class.
Albuquerque area. Yeah, big time higher class. We're talking. I knew a guy who had a Maserati sitting in his garage.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, same type of story, okay? Bobby, very good friend of mine, very close to me, didn't do well in school, was really into computers and all, kind of, what most people would call almost like the welfare child, okay, for a lack of a better word. No ambition, no nothing. Really didn't look for work. Not that he couldn't get work. Never really looked for work, this, that, and the other thing. But he was always very helpful to anybody who ever needed him to do anything. Well, somebody had found out, through word of mouth somewhere along the line, and he was approached with jobs, doing yard work and cleanup and things like that. just for this one person, just like you were talking about your neighbor there type of deal.
Yeah.
He went over and he did spent the day, did what he, was asked to do, so on and so forth. By the end of the day, this is a very wealthy individual that he was working for. By the end of the day, because he actually took pride in what he was doing, there was no rush job, this, that, and the other thing, he hired him on the spot by the end of that first day as his permanent groundskeeper. Work when you want, when it has to be done, this, that, set your own schedule, and he put him on salary for something like $40-some thousand a year.
Jeez.
And the only thing he does is go over and maintain this guy's yard. And he does it once in a while. It's not like an everyday thing. It's not, That's it. Put him on salary. Hired him on the spot because he took pride in what he was doing. And it's the only thing he's ever done. It's the only real job he's ever had. It's the first and only real type of job he's ever had. Just because he did it right the first time. The guy's, right there on the spot. That's it. So no matter how small you may think it is, you'd be just like my cousin, got into the construction thing, was doing odd jobs, boom, next thing you know, he had to start his own company. Just like you did with the lawn maintenance and whatnot. Next thing you know, boom, These things can happen if you treat the customer right, if you do the job correctly the first time, and you take pride in what you're doing. And that goes for everybody and anything.
See, that's the whole thing to it. I broke into this business. I wasn't looking to get rich off of it. I wasn't looking to make, piles and piles of Federal Reserve notes. All I wanted was enough so that I could, pay my rent, have food, buy my cigarettes and beer, coffee, and go to the movies, go to the bar every now and then type of deal. That's all I really wanted. I asked the lady for $10. $10 an hour, I'll help you clean up the horse poo in the backyard. I'll help you move them railroad ties around, and I'll haul off your garbage. And we're talking 3, maybe 4 hours of work. First day, right? She liked me. She liked my work. She liked my work so much, that when I came back from the dump, she says, can I get you to mow my lawn? I said, no, I don't mow and I don't trim. I don't do that kind of stuff. I do this other stuff, the harder stuff that doesn't really take a lot of, pulling on a string and keep an eye out for the little flowers. You don't want to mow them down and this, I said, no, I can't do that. I hate pushing a lawnmower. To the day, I hate pushing a lawnmower. But I don't mind grabbing a chainsaw, cutting branches off of a tree, loading them up in my pickup and taking them and getting rid of them. I was selling, no kidding, instead of taking branches, her tree branches and old busted up railroad ties and stuff like that, instead of taking those to the dump, I'd take them to my house. Because I had a friend that wanted them. He'd cut them up into firewood. I'd sell them to him. He'd haul them away. Now I'm selling them to a friend of mine. What did that hurt me, right? The garbage, obviously. Hey, that went to the dump. But everything else, I got paid to haul away. Heck, if it was useful, I sold it.
Amen.
So I was pulling money left and right. I had, like I said, I had space to have employees, but I couldn't get the people that I wanted to work for me, my 3 cousins that lived in the same town. I could only get one to get up off his butt every now and then, maybe twice a week, and I was willing to pay him, $15 an hour. And I would have at $25 an hour, he gets 15, I get 10. And that was going to cover both of us, right? And all I could get out of him is maybe 6 hours of work a week. And the other two just flat out refused. No. This country, or our society, from coast to coast, I'm telling you, there's no motivation to go out and earn a living. It's been cut down. They've been dumbed down. They've been socialized. They've been turned into communists. Yeah, and entertained to the point of where, well. And now these guys, now I don't know where they're at. I don't know what they're doing. But as far as I know, they're probably starving to death. They could be living like kings. I'd have the business running, the whole nine. I'd probably supply the trucks and all the equipment. Yeah, where'd it turn out to? Well, I made some good money out of it. I don't know what they got out of it.
Well, I'll tell you, it's like that everywhere, brother. Those who
last 15 minutes?
Wish to do... Yeah, we're down to the last 15 minutes. If BTR doesn't cut us early like last time. I don't know if that was a glitch or what happened there. We were in mid-sentence and still had time left, and off the air we were. So I don't know what happened with that. That was weird.
I'm just kidding.
It's all Jesse's fault, dang it.
That's right, damn, it's my fault.
Since we don't have that much time left tonight, Jess, why don't we start out next week's show with your topic? And we'll have you.
Because I've been wanting to do that for weeks.
You should have brought it up earlier. I would have got you in on that.
You guys did bring it up, and then all of a sudden you just went straight to a different topic, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So.
So you always then you sit there, and the next time you get a chance to say a breath, I want to digress. Yeah, or not digress. Let's go back here, or something. Let us know. Well, wait a minute, she's got more on that.
Let's
you got to get some sort of signal.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the deal, Jess.
Next week I'll have a fully charged phone, too. My battery's dying, which is probably why it's cutting out pretty bad.
Okay, so here's the deal. Next week, when we open up the show, we'll talk current events, and then we'll just let you go ahead and, run with it. When after current events, and introductions and all that stuff. And in the introduction, you can always say, hey, I'd like to talk about, and that'll be our subject. Anything you want to talk about, I'm willing to talk about.
Okay, good.
You know me.
I want to talk about quote unquote population control. Yeah, I've got a few words on that. Yes.
Okay. No, that's right up my alley. It fits right into gun control. It really does. And I can connect both of them. I can prove it, and I can connect it. I can prove it through history.
Nice.
Through all kinds of history. So, yeah, you want to talk about that. I want to talk about it, too.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's talk about population control next week. That'd be great.
Sounds awesome to me.
Either that or we could talk about the cash cow, but we get into that every freaking week anyway, so let's talk about something else. Damn that cash cow sucking up our time. Stupid bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, hey, if I had that big of a cash cow, well, I probably wouldn't know what to do with myself. I'd probably be the one.
I tell you what, I lived on both sides of the fence, okay?
Oh, bye.
Been there, done that, rubbing elbows with the rich and famous, on the high rollers list in Atlantic City, make a phone call from anywhere, within reason, hour-wise, call up I ain't gonna mention names, call up casino, boom, free of charge, have a limo at my door in no time, drive me to the casino, comp me everything in the world, I lived a good life, had the boat, had the big 2-story house, the whole 9 yards. And after so many years of it, I finally turned around and looked at where my life was and said, this is not where I want to be. I'm tired of living the fake And that's what it was. It was to me, it was fake. It was all fake. There was no reality involved. It was all, like too much fantasy land, too much, almost political correctness. It was, it was just way too much. I turned around, I packed up, left my little tiny car, 2 lawn and leaf bags full of clothes, got in the car with about, probably a couple $100 in my pocket. That was it, and left. Walked away from it all, and never looked back. And I've never been happy.
You know what?
Never been happy.
My late husband and I did the same thing. Only thing is that we were down at the very bottom. We were homeless, living in our vehicles, and I was 4 months pregnant with our son. And we've been homeless off and on for the 3 years before that. But we did the same thing. We took our belongings, we took both of our vehicles, and we had about $500 between us. And we moved out here to Eastern Oregon, and couldn't have done better.
There you go, sister. Yeah, that's what I did. I went and lived in my car. When I left all that, I didn't have nothing but a couple $100 in my pocket. We were having trouble with work. Not that there wasn't any work. The place I was working at for 8 years, we lost a major contractor, so income wasn't there anymore. And I lived in my car, and this was in the middle of winter. I've gone to sleep.
Yeah, ours was in the middle of winter too. Oh yeah.
I loved it. I used to do all my writing. Got back into my writings. I finished my manuscript. That's another story. But, I mean, it was, I was able to do so much and just enjoy life and get away from everything and the aspect of electronics and all that kind of crap. Of course, didn't have much of that in my day, but, just to be out there, be out there in nature. And I've gone to sleep, curled up in my blanket in the back seat, stretched out, went to sleep, woke up in the morning and couldn't open my car door to get out of my car. Had to roll down the window to climb out because it snowed so much, overnight.
And it got so icy cold it stuck together. You couldn't get out. I've done the same thing.
I wasn't running the car. I mean, one day it was stuck together so much. But, I woke up the one morning and it was almost 2 feet of snow. I had to roll down the window to climb out the window. I walked up to, walked out of where I was parked from. I was parked out in the woods. Walked back out to the main road, up to the corner store, hung up at the corner cafe there, got me my coffee and breakfast, and hung out there for a couple of hours talking to people and that. And, by afternoon, everything had started to melt and loosen up, which is often, this is in Jersey, so you may get 2-3 feet of snow, and then, usually by afternoon, most of it's movable again. Spent another night in that location, and by the following morning, was able to had to rock the car a little bit, forward and reverse to get it out. But within a couple of minutes, drove out to from the woods where I was, back out in the main road, and went to a different spot for a couple of days. And that's what I did. But I've done that more than once in my life. I did that multiple times. I just enjoyed sleeping out in the woods, out campsite, parked in my car, just hanging out in nature. And in the middle of winter, didn't matter to me. The only thing I'll never do again, I made that mistake only once. I was invited to a friend's house for dinner. Never met his wife and all. So it was like, I wanted to get a shower, get cleaned up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Before I went, middle of winter and stuff. Says, screw it. I actually, at least wash up, right? So I actually went over by the dam area where the lake wasn't frozen solid. Because we were skating. Lake. I actually went over there to the dam where the water was running in freezing cold ice lake, and actually washed my hair and took a bath.
Oh God!
And but I'll tell you what, I'll never do that again.
Well, I was doing pretty much the same thing, Doc, but I was in Indiana, okay, and I was in a 1962 Ford pickup, short bed, with bucket seats. All right? I would put my duffel bag between the seats when I tried to sleep, which didn't quite level everything. And if you know bucket seats, there's space for your butt on both sides. So I would kind of empty out part of the duffel bag and try to make it all even into a bed and stuff. And reaching over there and reach over there and crank on the engine, and about every 2 to 3 hours when the truck was so cold inside that you could, you could tell, yeah, okay, it's time to, and I'd let it warm up inside. But those things, those trucks, they don't have any insulation at all on any part of the, so they get cold really quick. Heck, I don't know. I did that for about...
That's one thing I never had to worry about, even living in my cars and stuff, even with the pickup truck or needing a tractor trailer. Just the day cab even. I've done that. Slept on the floor, climbed underneath the seats, and slept on the floor, actually, in my day cabs before. No problem. The weather, the coldness doesn't bother me. I just throw a blanket over me and cover my head as well, and I like my own little cocoon there. And the cold weather's never bothered me. Once I go to sleep, I'm asleep till I'm awake. I never, left my car running, never had the heat on, none of that. Never even covered up with coats and all that under the blanket. Just a regular blanket, but a big blanket, so this way it'd cover my head and my feet, and I just tuck the blankets around me and put up over my head, curl up in like the whatever position I get in, depending on the room I had. And within minutes, fall right to sleep. As I said, I didn't even know it snowed. Yeah, I went to sleep. It wasn't flurrying or anything. Woke up that day, and it was 2 feet of snow on the ground. I didn't even know it. Cold didn't bother me. Nothing bothered me. Yeah, it was. I used to walk around with nothing more, just in my T-shirt for the most part. But jacket-wise, growing up, I never had nothing more than a windbreaker. Yeah, just a little lightweight windbreaker kind of a coat. That's all I wore all winter long. That was it.
You would hate New Mexico in the summertime, wouldn't you?
This is when I was growing up. Now I can't handle the cold. When I got hurt, when I blew out my back and had the surgeries and all, that's one of the reasons I got out of Jersey. I'm down here in Florida now. I get chills real bad, real easy. The cold forget it. I cannot handle the cold anymore. So yeah, I love the heat.
Well, you would stop living here then.
Oh yeah, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, no. When I was sleeping in the Ford, when I was sleeping in that old Ford pickup, all I really had was like these really thin wool blankets that they got the Indian patterns on them, but they're very thin. And I'm telling you, you stack 3 of these things all on top of each other, it barely makes it over the 1/8 of an inch, thickness. But they're wool. They're not cotton. They're not cotton. They're wool. They're the itchy wool, and they're really cool because they're you can throw them over the back of your truck or your seats, and they got the design, and it's all pretty and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was rough. It was rough. I had my jackets, my thick jackets to cover the rest of it. Anyways, we're down to the last 2 minutes or so of the show. And so, Jesse, any last words?
Oh, it's going to take longer than 2 minutes, so no. Otherwise, thanks, you guys. Love you both. It was good as usual, and I'm going to hold you to next week, too.
Doc?
Yep, God bless everybody, and definitely do that, Jess. Looking forward to that show myself. Nope, I'm good. I just want to thank you again, brother, for doing this for me tonight, and I'm going to let you do the same thing next week, since it's mainly your two guys' topic. So.
Okay.
Nice job.
Well.
You got the final word there, Jose? Or they just cut us off?